So as far back as we go in recorded human history, all the way to the epics written by Homer, the Odyssey, where Odysseus leaves his son Telemachus with his companion Mentor while he's off on his adventures, all the way to a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Mentorship has been a vital part of human stories and what it means to be human. Now, with that example, we're going to focus a little more on Yoda because I know nothing about ancient Greek literature at all. Yoda, why do we like Yoda? And this may be the wrong demographic for this, but is it because he makes for a funny meme? Obviously not. I would say that the reason we like Yoda is because he passed on what he learned. You see, Yoda in the story, if anyone here had a childhood, is a very wise being, is someone who came from lots of experience, and he passed that experience on to Luke Skywalker, and oftentimes we identify with Luke. The reason we like Yoda is because when other people saw Luke Skywalker outside of Yoda, people saw him as a young, destitute farmer in the desert, I guess farming sand, really doing nothing on the fast track to a life of mediocrity. The reason we like Yoda is because he saw Luke and he saw someone who was teachable, driven, and full of potential, and stepped into his life and showed him how to navigate the obstacles that were to come. The reason we like Yoda is the same reason we like Haymitch from the Hunger Games. You see, besides the clinical drunkenness, Haymitch was a great mentor to Katniss Everdeen. Where people saw a poor girl who had to hunt for her food, Haymitch saw someone who was teachable, determined, and full of potential, and showed her how to navigate the games. Because Haymitch has been there before. He's navigated these. He's seen what it takes to get to the other side successful. Not only successfully, but bonus points get through alive. But he didn't stop there, because what he saw in her was so much greater. He helped to turn her into an icon that helped to start a revolution that ended up changing the world. The reason we like Haymitch is the same reason we like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. You see, where lots of people saw the hobbits as little half-sized people who ate too much, drank too much, smoked too much, slept too much, partied too much, and lived in little weird houses, Gandalf saw a group of people who were teachable, determined, and full of potential. Gandalf had fought the evil that was coming to face them before. Gandalf had been there. Gandalf knows how to get through that. And with the people that he saw potential in, he was able to pass that knowledge on to them so that they might do the same. And so you might be asking the same thing I was asking about a year ago when I was here. How do we get mentors? How do we find mentors like this? I'm not Katniss. I'm not Luke. I'm not Frodo. I'm not the main character in an epic story. How do I find a mentor? So I wanted to answer that question. And so what I did was, over the past year, I connected with people through LinkedIn, Facebook, phone, email, and actual mail in some cases, believe it or not, and called it my year of mentors, where no matter who the person was, no matter their title, their status, if they'd been on TV before or whatever, I wasn't going to let anything intimidate me. I was going to see what it took to connect with truly great people to learn great things. And you'll be surprised at a few of the people who were part of that. Mark Cuban, Bear Grylls, Greg Abbott, just down the road, Ellen, Morgan Freeman, and Robert Herjavec. He's on Shark Tank with Mark Cuban. I can never say his name right. Every single one of these people, as I reached out, did not respond. Not one time. Actually, that is until old Robbie here came in clutch for me and responded. It was not the response I was looking for. He said, stop the will you be my mentor emails and start being present to embrace the learning opportunities all around you. So I'd like to give myself 1 point for getting someone to respond. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but it was helpful because it helped me to determine what I needed to do, where I needed to look to find the mentors that I was looking for, the mentors who would connect with us. And as I collected data of of who these people were, what industry they were in, what level of the industry, how long they've had experience there, how many tries it took me to get there, blah, 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 blah. This big Excel sheet full of data. I compressed it all into the next slide. And it may be a little advanced. It may be a lot to take in. So if you have questions, we're going to be outside, and I'd love for you to come and talk to me if you don't get it. So I'll try to go slow. This is the best place to look for a mentor. You don't want to sacrifice on expertise, but you don't want to be looking at the red carpet like I was. I was starting to feel down on myself because no one was responding, but I realized, thanks to Robert, that I was looking in the wrong spot. You see, when we reach out to people like Morgan Freeman, if we want to become an actor, we're reaching out to someone that thousands and thousands of other people are reaching out to. And there's other people around who are still have the same amount of expertise, but are far less popular. These people that I connected with in this little star area were still CEOs of Fortune 100 and even Fortune 10 companies. These are local founders of businesses here in Austin. These are actors, these are speakers, these are government officials, keynote speakers, really interesting people that I was still able to connect with. And because I started to see more people responding and connecting, I wanted to gather 2 bits of data. The first, how many times it took to reach out, or how many reaching out attempts it took to get someone to respond. I stopped gathering that data because A, it got hard and I'm not a scientist, and B, I realized it didn't matter because if you want a mentor, you should just keep asking. You should ask until someone says yes. Maybe not the same person, use your judgment. But you just keep asking. So I stopped gathering that bit of data, and I started to focus on this question alone. Has anyone outside of your direct reports at work asked you to be a mentor to them? The reason I ask this is because, we found out, A, what it takes to get a mentor, and that's just asking. Being bold and asking until you get one. That's good. And now we need to find out how we keep a mentor. So in this blue section, the people who said yes, people do reach out to me and have asked me. I asked the follow-up question of what does it take to maintain that mentoring relationship? And everybody who responded said essentially the same thing in their own words. They said 2 points. Number 1, you need to come with relevant topics and relevant questions. And number 2, you need to come with a respect for time, which makes sense because the people we want to learn from are often off being successful, and by virtue of that don't have tons of time. And so to help you understand that, I'll give you a hypothetical situation, a hypothetical story. Let's just say, again, hypothetically, there's some handsome guy who's preparing for a TEDx talk in, Austin. And he reaches out to a keynote speaker at LinkedIn and says, hey, I'm preparing for this thing. I literally have no clue what I'm doing. Would you connect with me once a month and help me prepare for this? And she says, sure. And that TEDx person, the handsome guy, goes to the first mentoring session and sits down and just waits. And the conversation was probably going to go a little something like the keynote speaker saying, hey, my time is valuable. Your time is also valuable. You can't just come here and expect for some fountain of wisdom to pour upon you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you're looking for. You need to come with relevant topics that we can talk about. And so, again, hypothetically, take that and learn from that story. We need to come with relevant topics and a respect for time. So that's how we maintain the relationship. And so now that we know that's how you maintain it, and the way you get it is by asking, let's focus on this orange, reddish section here. These are the people who said, no one has reached out to me, but I am willing to be a mentor. And that to me is a resource that's sad to waste, something that it's a pity that we're not taking advantage of. And so to these people, my follow-up question was why? Why do you think no one has reached back out to you? Or why do you think no one has asked you to be a mentor to them? And their answers, again, all said essentially the same thing in their own words. They said, I think people are scared. And when I hear that, it makes me think of if I was scared, what the mentoring opportunities and the experiences I would have missed out on if I hadn't tried or asked. 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was at the university I attended, and I represented a student section where when donors would approach the university to give money, we would always take them to some super nice dinner, and there would be a group of student representatives. In the front, in two Cadillacs, two the super nice Cadillac SUV, Escalades would show up, and in the front, the donors would get in, and in the back, the student representatives would get in. And I remember standing there and looking and seeing in both there was one seat available. In the left, in the back Escalade, was my friends, the people I knew, the people I did this with, the people I hang out with every day. And in the front was a billionaire CEO and founder of a tech company. And I could have gone to safety. I could have gone to what was, natural and safe, right? But instead, I'm happy I made the decision. I went and sat with the kind of uncomfortable and intimidating situation. And I'll tell you, when I got there, the donor, the main donor, the founder of the tech company, was sitting in the passenger seat of the front, turned around, hugging his headrest in a kind of uncomfortable fashion, looking at me straight in the eyes and asking me who I was, what I did, why I did it. He was so interested in me, and I, in turn, was also very interested in him, that I, at the end, ended up asking him, would you mind exchanging contact information? Would you mind if throughout the year I reached out to you a couple times? And he said yes. And so now a few times a year over phone, over text, which is funny to text a billionaire, and over email, I'm able to ask questions to a really, truly incredible person. And I have that because I wasn't scared. I wasn't fearful, and I walked into a slightly intimidating situation. This next slide is going to be a little harder for me to get through probably, and partially because my family's here, but this man is Alden Calvin Stanford. He's my grandfather, and 2.5 months ago or so, as I was preparing for this talk, he passed away. And I was there, and it was really tough. And I just looked at my dad in the audience, and it makes it harder. I was there, and it was tough. But I know when it happened, though it was devastating, I had a sense of peace because I spent time with him. I spent time with him. Whenever we sat around, we would talk, and I would stay, and I would talk, and I would call this man multiple times a month. I feel like sometimes there's such a disconnect in the generations where kids get to their grandparents' house and they think he's weird because he has a VHS, and I don't know what that stands for, or Grandpa asked me for a Wi-Fi, and that makes no sense. And we miss out on that. And if I didn't take advantage while he was here, I wouldn't have what I have now. This man taught me what it means to love people, what it means to value people. He was also the most selfless man I ever knew, and when I was younger, I thought he was an angel, which is funny to me today. And so I think Sir Isaac Newton said it best when he said, "If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants." You see, this came at a time when he was being praised for his technological achievements and his scientific advancements. And when people were saying, you, he said, no, not me, them, not me, the people whose shoulders I am standing on. They have paved a way. They have held my hand. They have showed me what I need to do to get to where I am. They have helped me see further. These two men that I've mentioned tonight are two examples of the many giants in my life. There's a lot more, and there's a few in this room today, and I'm glad they're here. And so my challenge to everyone here, whatever you're going into, whatever age you are, be mindful of the opportunities to learn around you. Look for those giants and ask them if you can stand on their shoulders, because I promise when you do, you will see further. And beyond that, what if everyone here today, all of us together, became giants of our own, and instead of waiting for others to ask to stand on our shoulders, we invited them proactively to stand on ours so they can see further as well. Thank you.